On this channel, $1 Million Made Easy, we love to run numbers for people. What we do is look what the S&P 500 has done for the last 100 years, and we look to see what it might do in the future. We use all the different possible returns for the last 100 years. And we want to look at the withdrawal stage in this video. Let's say somebody has 700,000 saved up. I know most people like to have a million, but let's say you have 700,000 and you want to give yourself a 2% COLA to try to keep up with inflation. And you figure you need 4750 a month, and you have 1750 coming in from Social Security. That leaves you 3000 that you need to take from your nest egg. So let's go ahead and see what 3000 would do. And let's go ahead and update this. 3000 out of 700,000 will be a withdrawal rate of 5.14, which is somewhat more than the 4% rule. But let's see how many times the last 100 years you might have run out of money. Just 4 times. So in other words, looks like you'd be safe with 700,000 taking out 3,000 a month. You can see there's just 3 times in the depression years, and probably in the year 2000 you would have run out of money. Every other time that 700,000, this is the 2 million mark, this is the 4 million mark. So you would have been fined almost every scenario except if we have returns like the depression years, even 1973 and 74, which right here we're looking at all these different returns. The only time you would have run out of money is during this time when it was such a down decade. But even in 1973 and 74, we had 2 down years and another down year here. You would have been just fine. The year 2000, you would have been iffy because you had 3 down years and then you had this down 37%. But every other scenario, no matter what year you pick with the returns that we had in the last 100 years, you would have been just fine. You can see here, even would have been increasing in most withdrawal years. Again, it's those initial years when you hit those. Let me just show you here real quick. The year 2000, they call this a sequence of return risk. If you have 3 down years initially, you could potentially run out of money with this scenario, starting with 700,000 and withdrawing 3,000 a month, which is 5.14. In this case, the year 2000, you would actually run out of money. But every other year, no matter what we pick, no problem. You have all kinds of money after 10, 15, 20, and 25 years. And this shows you the numbers right here going down through there. So let's do 650,000. I just want to see at what point does it get uncomfortable, let's put it that way, with a 2% COLA, withdrawing 3,000, which we already saw, that's what you needed. Again, this is just running numbers for a sample case here, needing 3,000 a month because you're getting 1,750 from Social Security and you figure you need 4,750. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's update this. One other thing we need to do, which I failed to mention, is nobody would leave all of it in the S&P 500, but maybe this is a good case scenario right here. All of it in the S&P 500. You would run out of money. Did I just up? I think I just updated it 7 times in the last 100 years. But what we want to do is put a 60-40 asset split. What I like to do is run different numbers. In other words, 60% staying in the S&P 500 and 40% going over into a cash reserve account. Let's go ahead and click on that. And let's rerun the numbers and let's see if these numbers change much. Yeah, it went down 1 year, but the 30-year period it went up. Why? Because this 5.54 is more than what you're getting in your cash reserve account when you're only getting 3%. Let's do a 70-30 split. Let's go ahead and update this. Again, once you get past that 4% rule very much, it can get a little bit uncomfortable in some scenarios. Not that many, in this case, 20 years, 7.4% of the time, 92.6% of the time, it would have been just fine. With this scenario, withdrawing 3,000 a month, having a 70-30 split asset and giving yourself a 2% COLA. And if we changed it to a 1% COLA, which might be kind of hard to take because if you're used to taking 3,000 a month out and inflation is normal 3%. But let's just see if it makes any difference with the 6 and 6. I'd cut it down to 3 and 3 times. And again, 96.3% of the time you'll be just fine. Let's go to a 3% COLA. That's what we like to do is run numbers for people. Just different scenarios. This is 650,000 if you have it and you need to withdraw 3,000 a month because of your planned expenses. 91.4% of the time you wouldn't run out of money. 70.4% you still have over $500,000, starting with 650,000. We go down to 600,000. You still need that 3,000 a month. Again, this is kind of showing you what you need to accumulate in your accumulation stage. And if you figure you needed 3,000 a month, that would be it getting up to 6% now. Let's update this. Now you're 11 times you'd be run out of money in 20 years and 19 times you'd be run out of money in 30 years. These are the percentages again. 86.4% of the time you'd be just fine over 20 years. 73% of the time you'd be just fine. Here's the graph again, showing you got some of the depression years and some around the year 2000. And it's getting really iffy around the year 73 and 74. Why? Because they had 2 down years here. If you started out the sequence of return risk, let's go again to 1973 here. And see you got 2 down years. So you're taking this 3,000 out of the cash reserve account, fortunately, not out of the S&P 500, but still you'd be getting really low. After 30 years, you'd be down to 344,000. You still have half of what you had left, more than half of what you started with. So in this scenario, the depression years, a lot of people say don't look at those because they can't happen again. But I just like to give you the scenario, even in the depression type years, where you might be withdrawing 3,000 a month. If you went down to 2,500 a month, which is 5%, update this, see if these change much. From 11 times running out of money, now you just have the 4 times. Again, the depression years were so problematic that you probably would have to really cut back if you had 600,000 and the returns were like they were in the depression years. Again, we're just projecting ahead. If none of these returns are going to be exactly like they were in the last 100 years, but we can get some kind of a range of what might happen. And in most cases, you'd be just fine. 95% of the time, you'd have just fine with a 2,500. And if we update this, I forgot what that was, 600,000 beginning. 86.4% of the time, you'd be just fine withdrawing 3,000, starting out with 600,000. But we are quite a bit above that 4% rule that we've seen works really well in almost every scenario. That's what we do in this channel. We run numbers for people, both in the accumulation stage and also in the withdrawal stage. If you want me to run numbers for you, just give me the beginning balance, what's your COLA, and how much you withdraw a month, and we'll run numbers for you, and we'll just see what the S&P 500 might do for you in the future. Please consider subscribing. Please share this with friends. I will run numbers for anybody, and this is such a valuable tool to see both in the accumulation stage right here and also in the withdrawal stage that we looked at in this video. Thanks for watching, and please share.